the figure that I find most intriguing about all of this, we've got 9.4 million Brits neither in a job or looking for one. There are some understandable groups within that, like students, like people who retired early, but there are nearly 3 million people on long-term sick, and this is the bit. Of the 9.4 million, that's increased by 364,000 in the last year. Let's speak to Andrew Allison, who's head of campaigns at Popcon. Popcon being, of course, Popular Conservatism. Good afternoon to you, Andrew.
Good afternoon, Ian.
Nice to have you with us. Look, we've discussed this for years. Ian Duncan Smith, a few years back, as you will be more than aware, did a lot of great work on this, looking at, social issues, what is behind it, how we get people to not be dependent on benefits. But what has happened in that time? Because, there's a reasonable argument now that all this stuff has got a whole lot worse. The numbers are damning. They're dreadful figures, 364,000 in the last year alone. What is happening here?
That's a very good question. Sorry if you heard a loud bang there. That was my 8-year-old son coming through.
Okay. The ceiling,
what's
I
going
hope not.
wrong is... sorry. Yes, OK, sorry. The joys of broadcasting from home, I'm afraid.
No, not a problem. We've all been there.
Yeah. I think what's going wrong is that we've just allowed too many people to be on state benefits and do it for so long. Sorry, Ian, I really can't do this while he's doing this.
Listen, it's not a problem, Andrew, because, part and parcel of the joy of being a parent is that sometimes your kid pitches up when they weren't meant to. I know it well, having recorded stuff from home. We'll come back to Andrew in a few moments, or certainly when he's got the babysitter in or whatever. Yes, we have absolutely allowed this problem to flourish. I think we can fairly say that. We've allowed it to flourish and we've allowed it to get out of hand, and nobody anywhere wants to take the toughest of decisions. And the toughest of decisions, even though Rachel Reeves says she's going to get tough because if there's something wrong, if you're not looking, everyone who can work should be working, etc. I think we've got Andrew back with us. Andrew, are you all right?
Yes, I am now, thank you.
That's all right. Parental duties all addressed. We were interrupted there. You were saying that, the problem has got worse and nobody's really bothered to do much about it.
No, they haven't really, and it all started with Gordon Brown, I think, Ian. He was determined to increase the client state under the new Labour government, and it's just got worse and worse since then. The term work-shy Britain, I suppose, it is a catch-all. There are plenty of people who would like to work who just don't have the skills. There are plenty of people who would like to work who just don't have certain disabilities that prevents them from doing certain things. But listening to what Chloe Smith had to say there, she's right. I think people do need to look at, or employers need to look at employing disabled people, because many of them could do an absolutely fantastic job. Yeah. And lots of us work from home, as I do most of the time, as viewers have been able to see. And that means that disabled people can get on and be productive. And it'll also be very, very good for them. Work is good for you. I think that's the message that everyone should hear.
Yeah. Maybe the pandemic played a part in this. There's 1 million more added to that list, to that number of 9.4 million. It's 1 million up on pre-pandemic levels. I don't know whether people just got used to not working and quite enjoyed it, or whether it, sent people round the twist. It probably did a little bit of that. We all went a bit mad at that time. But nonetheless, I just wonder whether we're in an era here, Andrew, and this might sound a bit defeatist, where it's not really that taboo anymore to not want a job. In fact, in some places, it's a badge of honour, it seems.
Yeah, that is true. It depends how you were brought up. I was brought up that work was important. And when my father lost a job after 22 years working there, and he found it very difficult, he was still trying everything that he could back in the 1980s to get a job. My mother went out to work to provide for the family. And I have to say, it's the great credit of my parents. Even though money was tight in our family, I didn't really notice that as a child, because, they made sure
that's a mentality, isn't it? We had to say, my dad was a self-employed painter and decorator, and there were times when it was really difficult. But the idea of not going to work and just going, well, we'll just sign on, that was never, ever discussed.
Exactly. And I think that has has changed completely. And I mean, the millions of people who are not working, who could work in this country, really is a national disgrace, because who's going to pay for them? Well, I suppose the answer is us as taxpayers, but also the answer is future generations, because we're mounting piles of debt to pay for this welfare bill.
And I understand that most people who are on some sort of unemployment benefit, you can't afford nice holidays in Bermuda. I do get, there's a stereotype that everybody gets a free house and a car, and of course there are people that know their way around the system. So it's not always, a great life to be unemployed, but clearly something has gone horribly wrong when we can see figures as big as this, that we have nearly 3 million people on long-term sick. You are forced to wonder, are all those people really sick in the sense that we understand it, even allowing for mental health issues, which, in its worst scenario is as bad as any kind of sickness. We all get that. But I've got a slightly sceptical question mark over what constitutes sick these days.
Yeah, I think we all do, don't we? And I think, if you were, use your father as an example, a painter and decorator, if he broke his back or something like that, and he couldn't work as a painter and decorator anymore, he's genuinely sick. But it doesn't mean that he couldn't then try to do something that was more office-based. That's an example. But I think this is where DWP needs to work much harder to get people back into work. Putting round pegs into round holes.
Yeah. Indeed. Listen, Andrew, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that.